Jake Morrison wiped the sweat from his forehead as he struggled with the heavy metal panel. His thin arms shook as he tried to lift it into place. The panel weighed only 30 pounds, but for Jake, it might as well have been 100. His bones were weak, his muscles small. Even simple tasks took him twice as long as everyone else. "Need help with that?" Amy Carter asked, walking up behind him. She was the ship's communications officer, one of the few people who still talked to Jake like he was normal. "I can do it," Jake said, breathing hard. He finally got the panel lined up and started screwing it into place. His hands were steady, even if his arms were weak. He was good at the detailed work, the precise stuff that required patience. Amy watched him work. "You know, you don't have to prove anything to anyone." Jake didn't answer. He knew she was trying to be kind, but he did have something to prove. Every day on the ship Aurora Dawn, people looked at him like he didn't belong. They were traveling to a new world, carrying 50,000 people to start humanity's first colony beyond Earth. Everyone on the ship was supposed to be the best humanity had to offer. Everyone except Jake. The ship's corridors hummed with activity around them. Engineers rushed past carrying important-looking equipment. Security officers walked by in their crisp uniforms. Scientists discussed their research in excited voices. Jake was just the maintenance guy who couldn't lift half the things he was supposed to fix. "Morrison!" Commander Ryan Blake's voice boomed down the hallway. Jake's stomach dropped. Blake was head of security and made no secret of what he thought about Jake. "Yes, sir," Jake said, turning around. Blake walked over, his heavy boots clicking on the metal floor. He was everything Jake wasn't: tall, strong, confident. "How long does it take to replace one panel? We have real work to do on this ship." "Almost finished, sir." "Almost isn't good enough. This ship runs on schedules, not on almost." Blake looked at the panel, then at Jake's thin frame. "I still don't understand why they let someone like you on this mission. What happens when we get to the colony? What use will you be when we need to build homes and farms?" Jake's face burned, but he kept working. "I'll find a way to help, sir." Blake laughed, but it wasn't a happy sound. "Right. Just try not to slow everyone else down." He walked away, leaving Jake alone with Amy. "Don't listen to him," Amy said, quietly. "He's not wrong," Jake replied, tightening the last screw. "I am the weakest person on this ship." That evening, Jake sat in his small room reading. While other crew members relaxed or socialized, Jake studied. He had books about alien languages, even though humans had never met aliens. He read about military tactics and space combat. He learned about different cultures and how they communicated. His roommate, a young engineer named Pete, came in and saw the books scattered across Jake's bed. "Still reading that stuff?" Pete asked. "We're going to be farmers and builders on the new world." "Why do you care about alien languages?" "You never know what might be useful," Jake said. Pete shrugged and got ready for bed. "Seems like a waste of time to me." Jake kept reading late into the night. The ship's artificial day cycle had ended hours ago, but he couldn't sleep. He felt like he was racing against time, trying to fill his head with knowledge because his body couldn't do the physical work everyone expected. 3 days later, Jake was assigned to repair work on the ship's outer hull. It was considered easy duty, mostly just checking sensors and cleaning space dust off the equipment. Jake put on his spacesuit and went outside through the airlock. Space was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. The Aurora Dawn was enormous, but out here among the stars it looked tiny. Jake worked slowly and carefully, checking each sensor according to his list. He was cleaning the communication array when he noticed something that didn't belong. There was a small device attached to the ship's hull, hidden behind one of the larger antenna dishes. Jake had memorized the ship's design from studying technical manuals in his free time. This device wasn't supposed to be there. Jake took pictures of the device with his suit's camera and carefully examined it without touching. It was clearly not human technology. The metal was a strange blue-green color, and it had symbols etched into its surface that looked like no human writing system Jake had ever seen. His heart started beating faster. This was alien technology attached to their ship, but who would believe him? Jake finished his work and went back inside. He developed the pictures and studied them carefully. The symbols on the device looked familiar somehow. After hours of searching, through his books he found similar markings in a theoretical text about possible alien communication systems. The next morning, Jake tried to report his discovery. He went to Chief Engineer Kate Sullivan first. She was his supervisor and had always treated him fairly. "An alien device?" Kate asked, looking at Jake's pictures. "Are you sure it's not just some component you don't recognize?" "I've studied every part of this ship's design," Jake said. "This doesn't belong." Kate looked worried. "If you're right, this is serious. But if you're wrong..." She didn't finish the sentence, but Jake understood. If he was wrong, it would be another example of Jake Morrison wasting everyone's time. "I'm sure," Jake said. Kate took the pictures to Captain Lisa Hayes. An hour later, Jake was called to the captain's office. Commander Blake was there too, looking annoyed. "Morrison," Captain Hayes said, "you're claiming there's an alien device on our ship." "Yes, ma'am. I found it during routine maintenance," Blake spoke up. "Captain, this is obviously just Morrison trying to get attention. He probably found some old piece of equipment and made up this story." "The symbols don't match any human writing," Jake said, "and the metal composition looks wrong for our technology." Captain Hayes studied the pictures carefully. She was a good captain who listened to her crew, even the ones others didn't take seriously. "Dr. Collins," she said into her communicator, "please come to my office immediately." Dr. Peter Collins, the ship's chief medical officer and science advisor, arrived a few minutes later. He looked at the pictures and frowned. "This is definitely not human technology," he said after a long moment. "The construction methods are completely different from anything we build." Commander Blake's confident expression disappeared. Captain Hayes stood up and started pacing. "If there's an alien device on our ship, it means someone has been watching us," she said. "The question is why and what do they want?" Jake felt a mix of relief and fear. Relief that people finally believed him. Fear about what it meant, as the weakest person on the ship. He had just discovered humanity's first evidence of alien life. And based on the worried looks on everyone's faces, these aliens might not be friendly. "Morrison," Captain Hayes said, "I want you to study those symbols more carefully. If anyone on this ship can figure out what they mean, it might be you." For the first time since joining the mission, Jake felt like he might actually be useful. He had no idea that this moment would change everything, not just for him but for all of humanity. 3 days after Jake found the alien device, everything changed. The Aurora Dawn was moving through empty space when suddenly massive ships appeared around them. The alien vessels were huge, dark metal monsters covered in sharp angles and glowing red lights. Captain Hayes called all senior staff to the bridge. Jake wasn't senior staff, but she wanted him there because he had been studying the alien symbols nonstop since his discovery. "They're sending a message," Amy Carter said from her communications station. Strange sounds filled the bridge. Clicks, growls, and sharp noises that hurt to listen to. "Can you understand any of it?" Captain Hayes asked Jake. Jake listened carefully. After 3 days of studying the symbols on the device, he had started to recognize patterns. "I think they want to talk. They keep using one sound that might mean meet or gather." "Peacefully?" the captain asked. Jake wasn't sure. "Maybe. But they also use sounds that could mean strength or power a lot." One of the alien ships moved. Closer to the Aurora Dawn, a beam of light reached out and grabbed their ship, pulling it toward an opening in the alien vessel's side. "We don't have a choice," Captain Hayes said. "Prepare a diplomatic team." The team included Captain Hayes, Commander Blake, Colonel Steve Martinez and his best Marines, Dr. Collins, Amy Carter, and Jake. Jake was only there as a translator, but he felt important for the first time in his life. They took a small shuttle to the alien ship. The inside was dark and cold, with tall ceilings and walls covered in the same strange symbols Jake had been studying. The aliens were waiting for them in a large room. Jake had never seen anything like them. They were tall, maybe 8 feet, with gray skin that looked like stone. Their arms were long and powerful, ending in hands with sharp claws. Their faces were narrow with bright yellow eyes that seemed to look right through him. The largest alien stepped forward. When it spoke, its voice was deep and rough like grinding rocks. "I am War Commander Thexmar of the Zephyrian Empire," it said in broken English. Behind him stood another alien, who Jake guessed was translating. "I am Captain Lisa Hayes of the human ship Aurora Dawn," the captain replied. Thexmar looked at the humans, his yellow eyes moving from person to person. When he saw Colonel Martinez and the Marines, he seemed pleased. They were big, strong men with weapons and armor. But when his eyes reached Jake, Thexmar made a sound like disgust. "What is this weak thing?" Thexmar asked, pointing at Jake with one clawed finger. "He is our translator," Captain Hayes said carefully. "Translator?" Thexmar laughed, a harsh sound. "Why do you bring your broken ones to important meetings? Are all humans this weak?" Jake felt his face turn red, but he stayed quiet. He was listening to everything the aliens said to each other, picking up more of their language every minute. "Humans value all our people," Captain Hayes said. "Weakness is a disease," Thexmar replied. "Strong species remove their weak members. It makes the group stronger." Commander Blake stepped forward. "Our weak ones serve other purposes." Jake heard the aliens talking quietly among themselves. They were surprised that humans would defend their weak members. Some thought it made humans soft. Others thought it might be a trick. "We control this. Part of space," Thexmar said. "You want to pass through our territory, you must prove you are worthy." "What kind of proof?" Captain Hayes asked. "Your warriors will fight our warriors. If you win, you may pass. If you lose—" Thexmar made a gesture across his throat. Colonel Martinez spoke up. "Our warriors are ready for any challenge." Thexmar looked pleased. "Good. But first you must show respect for proper order. Remove the weak one from this meeting." He was talking about Jake. The room went silent. "I won't abandon any of my people," Captain Hayes said firmly. Thexmar's eyes went wide. Behind him, other aliens started making angry sounds. Jake understood enough of their language now to know they were insulted. "You refuse to show respect?" Thexmar asked. "I show respect by protecting all humans under my command," Captain Hayes replied. That was the wrong answer. Thexmar roared and raised his clawed hands. Suddenly, alien soldiers rushed into the room carrying weapons that looked like curved blades mixed with energy guns. "You humans are weak," Thexmar shouted. "Any species that protects defective members is unworthy to exist." The aliens attacked. Colonel Martinez and his Marines fought back, but they were outnumbered. Jake dove behind a stone table as energy beams and bullets flew over his head. During the fighting, Jake kept listening to the alien communications. He heard something that made his blood run cold. The aliens weren't just attacking the diplomatic team. They had called for a whole battle fleet. Ships were coming to destroy the Aurora Dawn and everyone on it. Jake tried to reach Amy's communication equipment to warn the ship, but an energy beam hit the table next to him. Hot stone chips cut his face and hands. The communication gear was destroyed. The fight was going badly. 2 Marines were down and the rest were running out of ammunition. Captain Hayes had been hit in the shoulder and was bleeding. Commander Blake was trying to protect her while firing his weapon. Jake crawled across the floor, staying low to avoid the energy beams. He reached a wall covered in alien symbols and what looked like computer controls. His hands were shaking, but he started pressing buttons, trying to access their communication system. The alien language was starting to make sense to him. Fear and adrenaline seemed to make his brain work faster. He found what looked like their internal messaging system and started typing a warning to the Aurora Dawn. "Battle fleet coming." He managed to send in simple English before the system locked him out. An alien soldier spotted Jake at the computer and raised his weapon. Jake looked up and saw death coming for him. But before the alien could fire, an explosion rocked the ship. In the confusion, Jake rolled away and hid behind a fallen piece of ceiling. The fighting continued, but Jake could hear the aliens talking about retreating. They had captured most of the human diplomatic team but thought Jake was dead under the rubble. As the sounds of battle moved away, Jake stayed hidden. He was hurt and scared, but he was alive. More importantly, he was alone on an alien ship and he was starting to understand their language. Jake waited until everything was quiet. Then he crawled out from his hiding place and looked around. The room was empty except for broken furniture and scorch marks on the walls. The aliens had taken Captain Hayes, Commander Blake, Colonel Martinez, Amy, and Dr. Collins as prisoners, but they had left behind something valuable. Jake, who now understood that this was just the beginning. A whole alien fleet was coming to destroy his people, and he was the only one who could do anything about it. Jake Morrison, the weakest human on the ship, was now humanity's only hope. He just didn't know it yet. Jake stayed hidden for hours after the fighting stopped. His body hurt everywhere and blood from small cuts had dried on his face. But his mind was working faster than it ever had before. He was alone on an alien warship and somehow he had to save his friends and his people. The ship was quiet now. Jake crawled through dark corridors listening for alien voices. When he heard footsteps, he hid in maintenance shafts and storage rooms. The aliens thought he was dead, which was the only advantage he had. After exploring for several hours, Jake found something important: a computer terminal in an empty room. The screen showed alien text, but he was starting to understand more of their language. Fear and desperation had made his brain work in ways he never knew it could. Jake discovered he could access the ship's internal communication system. The aliens were talking to each other about the human prisoners. They had Captain Hayes, Commander Blake, Colonel Martinez, Amy, and Dr. Collins locked up on another ship called the Conquest's Edge. But Jake learned something much worse. The alien battle fleet wasn't just 3 or 4 ships. It was 50 warships all heading toward the Aurora Dawn. The human colony ship had no weapons and no way to fight back. 50,000 people were going to die unless Jake could do something. Jake sat at the computer terminal and started to think like he never had before. He was weak and small, but he understood the alien language now. More importantly, he was learning about their culture and their fears. The Zephyrians respected only strength. They believed weak beings should die. But Jake realized they also had something humans didn't have much of: superstition. They believed in spirits and ghosts and supernatural warriors. Jake began his plan by sending false messages through their communication system. He pretended to be a Zephyrian officer reporting strange events. "Human ghost seen on level 7, he typed. Disappeared when guards arrived. Then he went to level 7 and caused some real problems. Jake was good with machines and computers. He overloaded a power system and caused all the lights to go out for 10 minutes. When they came back on, he had used alien paint to write human words on the walls. Words like "death comes" and "you cannot hide." The aliens who found the writing were confused and scared. How could a human write on their ship? All the humans were supposed to be dead or captured. Jake sent another message. Strange sounds in the engine room. Sounds like human voices singing death songs. He went to the engine room and used the ship's sound system to play recordings he made of himself humming in a low, scary voice. When alien guards came to investigate, Jake hid in the air vents and dropped small pieces of metal to make noise above their heads. Over the next day, Jake became a ghost. He moved through the ship like a shadow, always one step ahead of the aliens looking for him. Every time they thought they found him, he was gone. Every time they relaxed, something strange happened. Jake learned that the aliens called humans meat creatures because they thought humans were weak and soft. So Jake started leaving messages that said things like, "The meat creatures are coming for you," and "soft flesh hides sharp teeth." The best part of Jake's plan was that he made the aliens scared of their own imaginations. He didn't need to be strong or fast. He just needed to be smart and use their fears against them. Jake broke into their main computer system and sent fake reports to the battle fleet. He wrote messages that said human ships had been spotted attacking Zephyrian colonies. He described humans as ghost warriors who could appear and disappear at will. "Human battle fleet destroyed 3 colonies," Jake typed. "Survivors report humans can become invisible. They kill without making sound. Traditional weapons useless against them." Jake knew the reports were lies, but the aliens didn't. They started to believe that humans were much more dangerous than they first thought. On the 3rd day, Jake's work reached the alien prisoners holding his friends. The guards were nervous and jumpy. They kept talking about the human ghost that was hunting their people. Captain Ben Murphy, one of the captured Marines, whispered to Dr. Rachel Kim. Something's got them spooked. They keep mentioning ghosts and invisible humans. Maybe someone from our ship is fighting back, Dr. Kim whispered back. They were right, but they didn't know it was Jake. Jake's greatest success came when he accessed the personal files of War Commander, Thexmar. Jake learned that Thexmar had a deep fear of spiritual punishment. In Zephyrian culture, warriors who died without honor became angry ghosts that hunted their killers. Jake used this fear against him. He sent Thexmar personal messages that said, "The ghosts of murdered humans are coming for you, and you killed innocents. The spirit warriors know your name." Jake also discovered that the Zephyrians had a legend about phantom hunters, supernatural beings that punished those who showed no mercy. Jake started calling himself the Phantom of Terra in his messages. The fear spread through the entire alien fleet. Jake intercepted their communications and heard officers reporting to Fleet Admiral Vex Thule, the commander of the battle fleet. "The humans are not what they appear," one officer reported. "They have supernatural warriors. Our weapons cannot touch them." "Impossible," Vex Thule replied. "Humans are weak meat creatures." "Then explain the ghost that hunts our ships," the officer said. "Explain how they knew about our colonies on the far border." Jake smiled as he listened. His lies were becoming truth in their minds. On the fourth day, Jake made his boldest move. He triggered a cascade failure in the prison ship's main systems. Alarms went off everywhere. Emergency lights flashed red. The artificial gravity fluctuated, making everyone feel sick. While chaos filled the ship, Jake broadcast a message on all communication channels. He had learned enough of the alien language to speak it properly now. "I am the Phantom of Terra," he said in a voice he made sound deep and scary. "I am the ghost of every human you have killed. I am the spirit of human vengeance. Your death comes on silent feet." The message terrified the aliens. They began evacuating their own ships, convinced that some supernatural human warrior was hunting them. But Jake wasn't done. He had learned that the Zephyrian battle fleet was still coming to destroy the Aurora Dawn. His psychological war had made them afraid, but not afraid enough to stop their attack. Jake needed to do something bigger. Something that would make the aliens so scared they would run away and never come back. He looked at the alien computer systems around him and started planning his greatest trick yet. The Zephyrians thought humans were weak, but Jake was about to show them that the human mind was the most dangerous weapon in the galaxy. The weak human they had dismissed as worthless was about to become a legend that would haunt their nightmares forever. Jake's psychological war had worked better than he hoped. The Zephyrian ships were in chaos, with aliens abandoning their posts and spreading stories about the Phantom of Terra. But he knew the battle fleet was still coming to destroy the Aurora Dawn. He needed one final plan to save his people. Jake accessed the prison ship's main computer and found what he was looking for: the location of the human prisoners. Working quickly, he overrode the security systems and opened their cell doors. Alarms rang throughout the ship as Captain Hayes, Commander Blake, Colonel Martinez, Amy Carter, and Dr. Collins found themselves free. "Jake?" Amy's voice came over, the ship's communication system. "Jake, is that you?" "It's me," Jake replied through the speakers. "Stay where you are. I'm coming to get you." When Jake found his friends, they stared at him like they were seeing a ghost. His clothes were torn, his face was dirty, and his eyes looked different, harder, more confident. "My God, Jake," Captain Hayes said. "We thought you were dead. How did you survive? How did you free us?" "I've been busy," Jake said simply. "We need to get back to the Aurora Dawn. The battle fleet will be here soon." As they made their way to the escape pods, Colonel Martinez grabbed Jake's arm. "The aliens are terrified. They keep talking about some phantom warrior. Their whole fleet is falling apart. What happened?" Jake looked at the colonel who had once dismissed him as useless. "I made them afraid of their own shadows. They escaped." The prison ship just as human reinforcements arrived. Admiral Sandra Lewis had brought a small fleet of Earth's newest warships. But even with help, the humans were still outnumbered 10-1. The alien battle fleet appeared like a dark cloud against the stars. 50 massive warships surrounded the human ships, their weapons charging for the attack. But something was wrong with the aliens. Their formation was sloppy, and Jake could hear confused chatter on their communication channels. Fleet Admiral Vexthul's voice boomed across space, speaking in broken English. "Humans! You have deceived us about your true nature, but numbers will still defeat your ghost warriors." Jake had an idea, a crazy, dangerous idea that might save everyone. "Admiral Lewis," Jake said over the communication system, "request permission to speak for humanity." "You're a maintenance technician," Admiral Lewis replied, confused. "Trust him," Captain Hayes said. "Jake has done things none of us thought possible." Admiral Lewis hesitated, then nodded. "Go ahead, Jake." Jake took a deep breath and opened AAO, channeled to the entire alien fleet. When he spoke, it was in perfect Zephyrian language, his voice calm and confident. "I am the one you call the Phantom of Terra," Jake said. "I am the human you fear in your dreams." The alien fleet went silent. Even the human ships stopped moving, waiting to see what would happen next. "You have seen what one human can do when you threaten our people," Jake continued. "You have felt the fear of our ghost warriors, but you still do not understand what you face." Fleet Admiral Vexthul's voice shook when he replied. "What are you?" "We are the species that protects our weak instead of killing them," Jake said. "We are the people who turn our smallest members into our greatest weapons. You thought I was broken and useless, but I have destroyed your fleet without firing a single shot." Jake paused, letting his words sink in. "You want to test human strength? I challenge your greatest warrior to single combat, not with weapons or physical force, but with the power of the mind. We call it psychological warfare. You call it Kethmar, the battle of spirits." The aliens were confused. Kethmar was their most ancient and sacred form of combat, where warriors tried to break each other's will through mental dominance alone. No alien had practiced it in centuries because it required deep understanding of psychology and culture. "You would send your weakest warrior against our strongest?" Vexthul asked. "I am not our weakest warrior," Jake replied. "I am our most dangerous one. The human you dismissed as broken has already defeated your entire fleet. Now I offer you a chance to save face, one mind against another. If I win, you leave and never return to human space. If you win, you may destroy us all." Grand War Master Zephkol, the supreme commander of all Zephyrian forces, joined the conversation. His voice was ancient and powerful. "The human speaks truth about Kethmar. This is the old way, the honorable way. I accept this challenge." The Uintor. Two fleets watched as Jake and Zephkol met on a neutral shuttle. The Grand War Master was enormous, covered in scars from 1,000 battles. His yellow eyes burned with the wisdom of centuries. "You are small and weak," Zephkol said, studying Jake. "How do you expect to defeat me in battle of minds?" Jake sat down across from the alien leader and smiled. "Because you still don't understand what human weakness really means," the Kethmar began. In this ancient ritual, each warrior tried to psychologically dominate the other through words, presence, and understanding of their opponent's fears and weaknesses. Zephkol attacked first, using his physical presence and centuries of experience to try to intimidate Jake. He spoke of human frailty, of their soft bodies and short lives, but Jake was ready. He had spent days learning Zephyrian psychology, understanding their culture and fears. Instead of trying to appear strong, Jake used his apparent weakness as a weapon. "You are afraid of me," Jake said calmly. "The mighty Zephyrian Empire terrified of one weak human. Do you know why?" Zephkol's confidence wavered slightly. "Explain." "Because if a human as weak as me can destroy your fleet, what can our strong ones do?" Jake asked. "You have seen our ghost warriors. You know we have powers you cannot understand. But here is the truth that terrifies you most. I am not special among humans. Every human colony has thousands like me. Every human ship carries dozens of minds like mine." Jake leaned forward, his voice becoming hypnotic. You thought you were hunting prey, but you found predators. You thought you found weakness, but you discovered a trap. We let you see our weakness because that is how we hunt. We appear harmless until the moment we strike. Zefkol's hands began to shake. The psychological assault was working. Jake pressed his advantage. Your legends speak of phantom hunters who punish the cruel, Jake continued. What if those legends came from the last time your people met humans? What if we have been watching you for centuries, waiting for you to threaten innocence so we could reveal ourselves? The Grand War Master's mental defenses crumbled. Everything Jake said made terrible sense to the alien mind. The impossible human resistance, the ghost warriors, the strategic brilliance, it all fit the pattern of an elaborate trap. You surrender? Jake asked quietly. Zefkol's voice was barely a whisper. I surrender. The alien fleet began retreating, immediately. Within hours they were gone, leaving human space forever. The story of the Phantom of Terra spread throughout the galaxy, becoming legend among dozens of alien species. Jake Morrison returned to the Aurora Dawn as a hero, but he remained the same quiet person who read books and studied languages. The only difference was that now everyone understood what Captain Hayes had always known, that strength comes in many forms, and sometimes the weakest-looking person carries the most powerful weapon of all. Years later, when humans had established peaceful contact with dozens of alien civilizations, they often asked about the legendary Phantom of Terra. Jake would smile and tell them that every human carried a phantom inside them, waiting for the moment when it was needed most.